Hi, Kumbaya Corner is your host, Ife Ivana. I hope you guys are doing so amazing. How is everyone doing? I hope you guys are good. I have been good. I have a couple of things to look forward to, which I'll be talking about. But yeah, I'll bring it up eventually in the episode. But this episode is, I don't know what I'll call it yet. But no, listen to this excerpt from Susan Sontag's journals, 1847 to 1964. I must change my life so that I can live it and not wait for it. I saw that post, I think, when I was scrolling on Pinterest because I'm a Pinterest girl. Instagram has just become so. I was telling my friend one time, I was like, Instagram is actually so noisy. And so I be scrolling on Pinterest. But anyway, I saw in my doom scrolls on Pinterest, I must change my life so that I can live it and not wait for it. Wow. And it's like, I just find myself in situations or positions where I'm like, like kind of waiting for life to happen, waiting for it to get better, waiting for life to, be better from the situation I'm facing today. But in reality, it's actually what you do with today that makes up your life rather than waiting for when this and that will happen or when you are in a better place financially or when you are in a relationship or just and it's like nothing good has ever come from just waiting for life to happen to you. Like at some point, I think we just have to wake up and smell the coffee and realize that today is what you make of it. Today is all that you have. I don't know. This is my mental space lately. All I have is today. That's actually all I have. All I have is right now. So there's no point thinking about, this doesn't erase, the need to plan and everything. But then I guess in situations like, wanting to have new experiences, they start with the things you say yes to today. And I put on my vision board one of my major things that I will be doing this year and for the rest of my life actually is just to say yes to new adventures. I'm going to say yes and then I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen to the best of my ability because I'm not going to sit around and just wait for life to happen. And with that, it's also freeing. Like there's just this freeing thing of just relieving myself of the unnecessary standard that I have set for myself because of how I want to be presented, because of how I want to be perceived. I think I wrote something on my Substack talking about how I am so like very particular about how I want to be perceived. I want to control the perception of other people of me. And it's an impossible task that is just going to have you like, you know, it's actually not worth it living your life based on how you want to be. And then coupled with that, the pressure to perform, the pressure to just be this perfect person. I don't even know where I picked it up from, but what even happened was how I hit this realization was actually I was having a conversation with my friend and then he was telling me he was just expressing how he didn't really like something that I did. And then I got so like mad about it. Not mad per se, but then I was like so apologetic. But then he was saying, yeah, you did this thing and you did this and you did this. And I felt this type of way. But like, it's not that serious. Like, I would have done the same thing in your shoes or obviously blah blah that was the situation. But then I was so like, oh my god, me doing this thing to him, does this make me a bad friend? Does this make me a bad person? Will he not want to be friends with me again? And I went on this like emotional roller coaster of like how I'm actually not a good friend and blah 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 blah. And then he was like, he doesn't know why I hold myself to these impossible standards. Like these are mistakes that happen all the time. I'm not going to not be your friend anymore because of that. And then the question he said, he was like, he doesn't know why I hold myself to this impossible standard. It really like hit something in me. Like, do you mean like this is not a normal thing? Like, I thought that was the norm. I thought we were all out there setting like these standards for ourselves of how we want to behave, or be a good person, or be a good friend. I never want to be a bad friend, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes. But I guess I just had this whole perfectionist persona where it's like when it comes to my relationships, I want to make sure I'm the best person ever. I don't want to make mistakes. I don't know how to handle criticism like normally because I'm just like, oh my God, like this is actually the end of the world. But I guess what I'm learning is free myself from this like unnecessary need to be a quote unquote good person and just live in a little, make mistakes, and then be open to criticism. Like it's not the end of the world. But slowly and surely, like we will get there. We will actually get there. What else am I freeing myself from? I'm freeing myself from from bearing emotional burdens of not just my friends, but people. If you know me, you know I'm an empath. And, as an empath and any other person that's an empath, you know that you tend to, I don't know if it's like a magnetic, invisible magnetic thing, but like you tend to attract or draw people that, that girl is an empath. She looks like she has an empty basket of problems. I'm going to fill her empty basket with my issues. And then I get trauma dumped, which is fine to a certain degree. But then it's like, it's not really okay when, first of all, it's not reciprocated. It's just like, I actually have a friend where our relationship is just her trauma dumping on me. And then it's like, we kind of meet again next time. And then in the moments that is happening, I'm not really feeling like, oh, this is too much, this is too much, this is too much for me. But then it does get to a point because I have issues of my own. Like, as much as I want to be a perfect person, that's actually not who I am. Like, we're actually not there yet. So it's like I have issues that I would also love to trauma dump on someone that is interested. And that's another thing with me. Like, the moment I spot that you are not even interested in anything I have to say, I'm going to shut up and you're never ever going to hear from me. And then back to being trauma dumped on as just a daily practice is actually not the vibe. Like, and it's like, yeah, she has an empty basket. Let's just fill it up with our problems. It really, really does get to a point where it's like, okay, so you actually cannot, like, you can't continue to bear the emotional burden of someone else's problems. You actually can't continue that. And then it does take, well, it will take me to put my foot down and be like, okay, do you know what? I don't want to hear this anymore. This is actually not a safe space anymore. I don't want this anymore. It takes a lot, just being like throughout my life. I feel like that has been my role. And on one hand, it's like it's okay, but then it really, really does get to a point. Like I feel like everybody has a limit, and it's like I have issues of my own, and I'm like, where am I going to dump this? Who is going to be my own emotional trash can is how I feel. I mean, I'm not going to see anybody as an emotional trash can, obviously, but like, especially in situations where the energy between the dumper and the dumpy is actually not reciprocated, it becomes an emotional burden. Like, it's actually not okay anymore. And I just want to free myself from that responsibility. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I want to choose peace. The only people allowed to trauma dump on me are my closest friends. I like tell me if I'm being a bitch, but like I don't want to hear about your problems unless like I just don't. I really, really don't. And I guess on my path, there has to be a way that I can communicate this. And it's so, so hard because it's like, I wish if I was invincible and I didn't feel anything. And on my bad days, your issues and my issues don't mix together and take me down a spiral. If I was able to continue bearing it, I would. But then the truth is that I can't, even contrary to what I believe. Like, imagine my shock when I realized that, oh, you actually cannot you can't carry the problem of the world on your shoulders. Like that is actually not your job. That is not your responsibility. That is not your duty. Which brings me back to another thing, which is just how being the eldest daughter in your family kind of creeps into every other walk of life. It's like, yeah, I'm the eldest daughter of my family, but like it doesn't end there because these traits that I grew up with as, oh, this is what an eldest daughter should be, it starts to present in my other relationships. And it's not cute. So yeah, how being an eldest daughter, it ends in a family, but then the annoying thing is how it kind of creeps into every other relationship and it's like it's actually not supposed to be the case. I actually hate how it just starts to present itself. Like for example, eldest daughter of a of an in an African home, I'm in Nigerian. So like yeah. Cherry on top, we're all girls. So it's like I am the peacemaker. I have to be like neutral in conflict because we're four. So if two people are fighting and I have said, even though I know who is wrong and I know who is right, I'm actually not allowed to say that because it will be like I prefer one person over the other, which is actually not the case. Also, it starts to look a little uneven when it's like, okay, everybody is saying one person is right, and then there's only one person starting the load, and that person starts to feel alienated. So I am constantly doing damage control. I'm constantly resolving conflict. I'm just in a constant state of like, being the in-between person, being the peacemaker. And it's like, it's an amazing duty. It's an amazing job and everything. There's the conflict gets resolved at the end of the day, of course, which means I'm good at what I'm doing, but it's like, to what end? Like where does it actually end? And in situations like this, you just have to realize that okay, these things that you actually grew up with are now coming out in because I don't live with my family anymore, so I'm not in that position. Even though we are miles and miles away, sometimes I will still get a call that something has happened, and then it's like I gotta do this. And it's like I love them down. I'm happy to be involved in the littlest way that I can, but it's like cause and effect. The effect of constantly being the peacemaker, I don't think it has been like a positive. It has been an entirely positive effect, like outside my family dynamics, which is insane. Like I get it in my friendships, but imagine my surprise when I find out that okay, actually in the real life, when for example my friends and I are having an issue, it's actually not okay to constantly be neutral. It's actually not fun, not okay to play devil's advocate. Like, these principles that I utilized within the family is actually not what is happening in real life. And I guess if I had different friends that were not, let me say, understanding of like my background and where this is from, I would want to be friends with somebody that is always playing neutral. Like if I'm being honest, now that I think about it, because it's not great. But then it's all I've ever known. So it's tough. And it's like, yeah, but then the good thing is that right now from where I stand, I am now like uncovering everything like what I grew up with, hashtag survival mode, and then what is actually supposed to be the case in living. Because remember, we are no longer going to just keep waiting for life to happen. I must change my life so that I can live it and not wait for it. So, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm getting so rid of the unnecessary expectations that have been above my head that I feel like I just have to live up to just because, and asking myself the right and the hard questions. And then I'm answering them whether I like the answer or not. Some are going to end up in me crying alone at night. But then it's like at the end of that is somebody that now understands that the only thing that you ever have to be in this life is yourself and, to live and just free myself. And I wrote this piece on my Medium. Not my Substack, because Medium is like my little diary, and I'm low key mad. Like I love Substack and I love everything. Like I love Substack, but it's like I feel like right now there's a Substack craze going on, and I've now lost that little intimacy that I thought I had with it. So I've gone back to Medium, but I wrote it. It's called Confessions of an Ex Peacekeeper slash Peace Distributor slash Sponge, and there's another expert for my poem because you guys know I love my poems. She had not known the weight until she felt the freedom. Is like, yeah, I actually didn't. And that's from the Scarlet Letter, by the way. Those standards that I set, those expectations to just tolerate everything. My goodness, my goodness. I'm actually eye rolling at how insufferable I probably sounded a couple of years ago, talking about how, do you know what? I think I'm just so tolerant. And I was proud of myself. I was proud of myself for how like I'm so tolerant. It's like I am so tolerant. It's like my that was my marketing strategy back in the day. Back in the day was like just 2 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Not that long ago, but when you are free, everything feels like it was just, back in the day. But it's like, yeah, how else will I become a strong, independent woman? How else will I grow? How else will I maintain my relationships? Because that was all that mattered to me. That was actually all I thought I had in this life. All I thought I had was my relationships. And then I would find myself in positions where I'm working overtime, doing too much, doing a lot just to maintain this because this is all I have. This is all I I have. It's like, it's actually not all I have. They do really, really matter to me. They are a very important, thing to me. Like, I'm not excusing how much I value and I love people that I'm in relationships with, friends, sisters, close friends, everything like that. But it's like, that's not all I have. Because another thing that is so funny, like, imagine my surprise thinking, all you have is your relationship. But then people die. Like, I don't even mean it in a like funny way. People actually die. So it's like, what happens then? You kind of just have yourself. Do you see what I mean? And he was like, wow, that's insane. And when you have just yourself and you don't have that peace from within, is a very uncomfortable feeling. And I'm so happy for the day that I decided to sit down and ask myself these hard questions and just open my eyes. I think I have now taken enough. I think I've tolerated enough now know that, okay, do you know what? Actually, I've changed my mind. Like, this is actually not the vibe. You know, who gains from me constantly being the peacemaker? Why have I attached so much value to how much of everyone else's emotional burden that I can absorb? Which is why I started to say myself, like, I'm actually like, I'm a sponge. I mean, I'm not a sponge, but like in the article, I did refer to those qualities as sponge like. And asked myself, am I keeping peace or am I absorbing dysfunction? Hmm, deep. Why do I believe tolerating chaos is the mark of strength? Who actually told me that? And it's like I'm suffering. Like it is emotionally draining and not in a cute way. You know how they say people have lost the light in their eyes? I think I started to look like that at some point. And yeah, so that was very eye-opening, and yeah, I realized this independent woman, strong person that I want to be, this is not how to behave as an independent woman. Independent woman, but you are the trash can for emotional burdens of people that don't care about you, don't reciprocate that energy. There's just no room for you to express yourself. What's so independent about that? Peacekeeping is also not even the same as keeping peace. One is a performance, peacekeeping is a performance, and then peace, just being peace is like it comes from within. So very painful thoughts, painful realization. But the best thing about all of this is that I am now speaking from a point where I'm no longer there. I'm now like outside of the club. So I can look back and I can be like, let's move differently. Let's actually move differently. And my free will includes deciding how much of myself I want to give, how much of my time I'm giving. So yeah, these are the confessions of a recovering people pleaser, ex peacemaker, ex peace distributor, ex sponge, and we are just becoming something else because we need to move differently, and most importantly, I am free from the version of me that felt like I had to put up with all of these uncomfortable things that were making me uncomfortable, but probably bringing somebody else comfort. So it's okay because someone else is happy, but like, what about you? You know, this is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the last one for a while, but like, I am going on a trip next week. I haven't been home. I'm going home. I'm going home, guys. I'm going home. I haven't been home in 5 years. And every time I say this, everybody's like, "What? 5 years? That's crazy." But like, I'm like, "Yeah, it's crazy," but like, it doesn't feel too crazy. It just feels like, "Oh yeah, it's crazy." But like, it's going to be a blast. I'm going to meet my mom for the first time. No, sorry. Why did I say for the first time? For the first time in a while, my sisters, and then it's going to be so interesting. I feel like it's going to be such a roller coaster. Like I was telling someone, I'm very sure my mom is going to bring an episode out of me. Like there's going to be an episode just about her, my relationship, but then that's going to be very, I mean, as usual, you guys are probably used to how open I am on this very platform. But yeah, that should be fun. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. That's just next week. I don't know if I'll be able to release episodes from home, but honestly, let's just see how it goes. Have an amazing time in life and sit with these thoughts, but not too much. And yeah, don't forget to Wait, don't forget to share, rate it, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, leave a review. Leave a review. That's an inside joke between me and my friends. If you get it, you probably don't get it. You're never going to get this, but this was and is and always will be Kumbaya Corner. Catch you guys later. Bye.